40-degree water. To that, I add 4 teaspoons of yeast, and then another half a teaspoon. 1/4 cup of white granulated sugar, and then I just let that sit, wait for it to bloom. So once you have your yeast bloomed, you know it's good to go. I add 1/2 cup of Red River cereal. This is a Canadian product, but basically all that it is cracked wheat, barley, and brown flaxseed. I add 1 tablespoon of salt, and then I also add 3 tablespoons of margarine. You can also use butter. You can use oil too if you want. I like canola oil or margarine. Once you have all of that, you start with 2 cups of whole wheat and 2 cups of white all-purpose flour. Then you just mix it all up. Now, the key is to keep it on your lowest setting with your dough hook. Any higher, you don't need to do that. You're just going to overwork your machine. So I will put this on and show you what it should look like before you add more flour. Then you're going to add 1 cup of flour at a time. So I scoop it in, scrape off the top, call that a cup. And then you mix it, and you're just going to continuously see me do that until we add the additional cups of flour. And I'll show you what you're looking for with your dough when you know to stop adding flour. All right, so you can see that every rotation, it's still pulling away from the bowl. It's staying in a ball. You're going to want to let it do this for about 10 minutes. Okay, so I let that go about 10 minutes. I'm going to show you now how to tell if your dough has been kneaded enough. There's a couple ways. The first way is to poke it. If it springs right back, then you know it's good to go. Boom, coming back. Isn't that great? Another way to tell is if you pull the dough and it doesn't immediately tear, it's been kneaded enough. So after you've covered it in oil, you can cover it and let it rise for at least an hour until it's double in size. Kneading the dough makes bread and your buns light, airy, and chewy. It's a really crucial step when you are making bread. Without well-developed gluten, your bread or rolls would be flat and tough. Trust me, I have done that so many times, and my husband has ate that crap bread for me, or we've made a lot of French toast with it. If your dough is not ready to rise, continue mixing it. This is where most people fail making bread. Why isn't it light and airy? Is it my flour? Was it my yeast? Most of the time, you just did not knead it enough. So you can see the dough has doubled in size. It's been about an hour. So once this has happened, you can just punch it down. So once you have your dough out, you want to roughly divide it into 3. I am never accurate with this. I'm sure you could use a scale. Ain't nobody got time for that when you're just making your bread for your family once or twice a week. You can usually tell by the feel, like hold each one. This one feels a bit smaller. That's about even. So I usually just grab a bit of each, throw it on. Feels same-ish. So the easiest way to work it is in your hands like this. I just stretch it until I have about the size of a piece of paper, just a regular old letter size piece of paper. It's the same thing as kneading it again when you're doing this action. But you don't have to clear off a work surface, make sure it's clean, flour it, yada, yada, yada. The pain in the ass part of making bread. This is my cheat way. So once I have it flat, I roll it into thirds, like into a log, or like you're folding your piece of paper to go into an envelope. And then I pinch each end, put it in its pan, punch it down, and that one's good to go. Now I'm going to show you another way. This one I see explained a lot online. And you're going to have to clean a work surface and make a bit more of a mess. But it is easier if you're trying to do it for your first time, so I'll set that up. So this is the other way you can do it. Flour your work surface. Get your rolling pin all floured. Put dough on it. So this one you can roll out into the size of a piece of paper. Now this second kneading process, it's done to work out that first air. When you knead it twice, you're gonna get a finer crumb and less air pockets in your dough. If you don't knead it enough, then you're just gonna have more air pockets. You see that in more traditional breads. But if you're looking for a white bread sandwich, you know, the delicious stuff, and you want less holes in it, then you're gonna wanna knead it the second time, roll it out, fold it out, etc. So now that I have it like this, you can either roll it and pinch in the ends. That's a really common way. Or, again, you can fold it. See, this is why this way is no fun for me. I don't like all that extra flour. But it's a pretty common way, so it is good. Anyway, you have to pinch in where it's folded like that. And then on the sides as well. Brush off all that extra flour and just pinch in the ends. And obviously the sides. And where you did have that seam, you're gonna wanna put that edge down in the pan. Like that. So now I have my 3 loaves shaped. I just spray them, cover them again. And I'll show you what to look for when they're fully risen before you put them in the oven. To tell if your bread has risen enough, poke the loaf, and if it springs right back, then it's ready to go into the oven. This is neat. I've never compared my rolled version to how I normally do it, but you can tell it's way better to not roll it, just by the shape of the dough. The middle one is the rolled and floured one, has the flour, but it's also just, it looks more dense. So that's interesting. Fun experiment.